ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. We are on verse 45, just looking into that. We saw the meaning last time and just a little more uh, fleshing it out today. Verse number 45, chapter 2. त्रैगुण्यविषया वेदाः निस्त्रैगुण्यो भवार्जुन निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्थः निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान्. We saw the meaning of this. Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha. The Vedas are the first portion of the Veda, have to do with a discussion of means and ends. It's a practical matter, because that's what it is. It is how to fulfill your wishes without getting in the way of dharma and other things. Like how to lead a righteous life and a life that is geared towards getting what you want. And that is all most people know. Even in a place like India, which is the birthplace of this knowledge, people know only this much. And so, if you come to India and tell people, I am studying the Upanishads, they'll say, oh, that's nice. And then if you tell the millennials, I'm studying the Upanishads, they'll say, what's that? So, many people don't know. And even if they do know, they'll say, they'll sit you down, especially the elders. They'll sit you down, and not the elders as in the sadhus, but household elders, grandmas, aunties. They'll sit you down and then and say, well, a little bit of that is nice, because it's after all our culture, it's after all our legacy. It's good to have a little smattering of this knowledge, like a little seasoning. Garam masala, which is put at the end of a dish. It's nice to have that. Gives a little taste to the life. But then, if you start going too much into this, and now actually things are easier because you can just sit in front of the computer, Zoom Kulam instead of Guru Kulam, Zoom Sangha, and you can just sit and sit and listen, and nobody has to know what you're doing. But before that, imagine how difficult it would be to go in search of the teacher and go where the teacher was and go frequently. You couldn't hide it. And so at that time, the uncles, the aunties, the grandpas, the grandmas would get very, very concerned. They still do. And then they will say, after all, who can get moksha? Who can get freedom from samsara? No one. Very, very few. And then most of the people are just pretending to have freedom. Even the teachers don't have freedom. They're just pretending. Why? Because they want donations for their ashrams. And that's why they're doing it. They don't need it. They're not, they're not enlightened. They want donations for their ashrams, and that's what they're doing. And so you're just being bamboozled. And here are self-appointed teachers who say, I'll give you vairagya. When you give me all your money, naturally you'll have dispassion. I'll relieve you of your money and then you will be free. And so, like this is what people do. And so, you know what? It's a little bit of moksha is okay, little, but then it should be balanced with a little bit of samsara. Otherwise, you're just going somewhere and then you're just losing yourself. This is what it is. It's sheer ignorance. It is sheer ignorance. And it is not only just sheer ignorance, it is ignorance, of course, but then that ignorance is layered with many emotional, like psychological nuances, mostly hopelessness and depression, a cultural hopelessness that one is buying into. It's a sheer hopelessness. And that hopelessness also comes from self ignorance. And so, here to ward that off, this verse is being presented. And Adi Shankara, in the Bhashya that we will see, says that, this verse is just to tell Arjuna that there is a world other than the fulfillment of one's desires. There is a world other than the first portion of the Veda which says, be good, get what you want, and pray for whatever you want, and go about it this way. And of course, whenever you come upon a roadblock, to what? To wish fulfillment. Then what do? You offer a fire ritual, or you just rush to a temple and then promise Bhagavan. Now Navaratri is going on. It's the 9 days of the honoring the mother goddess. And so you promise the mother goddess a brand new sari, as though the mother goddess is waiting for your sari. Very, very sorry, she is not. And but that is what one thinks. I'll offer you a sari, in exchange you can give me all these things. And so Arjuna needs to be told that there is a different world out there. A world that is not hopeless, a world that is not depressed, a world that is no longer. And why? Why is this world a small world nonetheless? But still, why is this world not hopeless and not depressed? It's not hopeless and not depressed because it has crossed over this yoking, this what is that? This addiction to desire fulfillment. Action, result of action, desire fulfillment, and then disappointment because the desire did not get fulfilled. And then more action, more result of action. It has come out of that cycle. And coming out of that cycle is what is needed for redemption from this yoking, from this addiction to wish fulfillment as the only way of happiness. A very misguided understanding. And so, the therefore the teaching is very, very clear here. And so he gives a way out, and then he talks about this. We have seen a little bit of this, but since we had a break, uh, a little recap won't hurt us. And so the Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha, here when he says Vedaha, the Vedas, he means the first portion of the Veda are just more of the same. Vishayaha, their subject matter is whetting the appetite of these gunas, furthering the gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, furthering the rajas and tamas mostly. Why? Because that is where the desires, that is what fuel the desires, the rajas and tamas. And it has a kind of a anyonya ashraya. Each one is dependent upon the other because the qualities of rajas and tamas, which we saw last time, the restlessness, out of balance, restlessness and inertia, they fuel the desires, and the desires in turn fuel them. There is a mutual codependence on each other. And so then, so these, all the three Vedas, the first portion of the Vedas, sorry, all the Vedas, the first portion of the Vedas just feed these gunas. Feeding the gunas means feeding samsara. Why? Because the world is nothing but these gunas. When we talk about that one which has variegated as though, and which has as though become many, then what is that factor that causes this one, so to speak, to become again in quotes, become many? What is it that causes? It is these gunas. Because that which is undifferentiated, for that Brahman which is undifferentiated, that truth of the self, that consciousness which is undifferentiated, for it to become differentiated, what is needed? You need some kind of a diversifying agent, which is the Shakti, which is the Nimitta Karana, which is the cause of, the cause of this diversification, we say Maya. That is what is Navaratri. And, the honoring this Maya is Navaratri. Honoring this Maya, this mother goddess, as the creatrix of the universe. And so, where did this mother goddess come from? There is no mother goddess other than Brahman. It is Brahman in the form of the mother goddess, equipped with the ability to create, equipped with the ability to take back, etc. And when we talk about Brahman as the one who is the knowledge behind the whole thing, we say masculine God, etc., and we say goddess. That's the only difference. Creation is always associated with the feminine principle, and so therefore, that diversification, has to come with an entrapment, as it were, for the people who do not understand the mechanics of this diversification. Because the diversification, what are the mechanics of this diversification? It is just that it's all one still. That is the mechanics. The mechanics is that everything that you see is just one, and so what you see is mithya. Mithya means a dependent reality on this consciousness, just like in your dream. It's a dream-like existence here, in the sense that whatever you see is non-separate from your dream state. Is not in the dream state. Whatever you see is non-separate from you. So here also in the waking state, whatever you see is non-separate from you. In the dream, you give yourself a body, and let's say you dream of a few friends you have over for lunch, and all of them have bodies. The lunch itself is you, and you have given it a body. And then the house is you, the people are you, the dogs and cats present there are you, everything is you, the vehicles are you, everything animate and inanimate is you. And when the dream folds up because the alarm rang, then it is all you. So, same thing here. In the waking state, also, the exact truth of this has to be assimilated. And boy, it is not a moment too soon. It has to be assimilated. Otherwise, well, the one falls under the entrapment of this diversification. And why should the diversification be trapping? It is not trapping. But if one buys into the diversification as a parallel reality to Atma, then it is got a kind of an entrapping quality. Because of one's own self-ignorance, what is that, one finds it to be trapping, because one doesn't know the truth of oneself. That's why one takes each and everything as real, and then between me that is real and all the other things that is real, there is competition, and then I feel incomplete, and therefore I want something that is real to fulfill me, and then that is not real, it is discovered. Whatever I go after is finite, but I seem to want the infinite, not knowing I am the infinite myself, not knowing I am the source of Ananda. I beg for scraps of Ananda at the table, and then keep chasing the finite infinitely. This is the truth. And so, therefore, the diversification itself means that there is a quality of, entrapment, and that as though entrapment, and that the name for that in Sanskrit, in Sanskritam, is this. It's called the what is that? Avarana. That's the entrap. Avarana means the covering power. Covering what? Covering you from yourself. Covering the Jagat as a truth of you. Covering Bhagavan, the Ishvara, the truth of you from yourself. That is the covering power, and that covering power is what causes the entrapment, as it were. And that covering power covers that reality, as it were, from you. And that is one kind of an entrapment. The other kind of an entrapment is to have so many and varied forms and shapes and everything to interact with. Vikshepa Shakti. The projecting power is called Vikshepa Shakti of the Mother Goddess, and the covering power is called Avarna Shakti, and together they do a number on the Jiva. And that's one other reason why the Jiva is caught in a quandary of just infinitely chasing the finite, and feels trapped in a net. And then of course we criticize samsara, so bad, so mean. Where is samsara? Right here is samsara. Otherwise all you see is the glory of yourself. It's just the glory of yourself. It's just all in how you look at it. And so how to get out of this narrow vision, this tunnel vision, which keeps me caught up in samsara. For that, this verse is presented, very very nice verse. That, please understand that there are limitations to these wish fulfillment treatise called the first portion of the Veda, because they keep trapping you in these gunas in the form of likes and dislikes. Certain things in the universe evoke a restlessness to have them, and certain things in the universe evoke a certain depressive quality. Once you have gained them, you are even more depressed than to begin with. It's more effort to maintain something that is also there, because what you want you got, and then what, and then you have to maintain that. So it's just like a relationship. So you get into a relationship, and I'm not just talking of a romantic relationship, whether it's a friendship or whether it's a relationship with a child or anything, whatever it is, and or a relative, doesn't matter. So there is a give and take, and then what you give, they don't take, and then what? Then there is heartache, because there is what you give, they didn't take. So now there is heartache, and then in order to assuage the heartache, you search for some other person to be a fitting recipient of what you have to give. And then there is all these things, and this is all the kind of an entrapment, because one is not seeing the truth of oneself as free of these heartaches. So therefore Arjuna is told without much ado, Nistraigunyo Bhava, you please become the one who is free of these gunas. Free of these gunas means what? It's like a tapestry. It's like a tapestry. Trapesty for us, and a travesty as well. And so it is like a tapestry. You make you're weaving something, a big tapestry, the kind that is hanging in museums, Smithsonian and other places. You see this huge tapestry. And inside that is an entire jagat, a world. There are people there, and some are dancing, and some are fishing, some people are hunting, and some people are, cooking. Some people children are playing, and there are some lines, 3 4 lines depicting water, and so there are little boats going on the water. All this is part of the tapestry. Oh, where am I? We need a little map saying, a little dot saying, you are here. So you are one more stick figure in this tapestry. And then it's easy for Krishna to say, come out of it. How to come out of it? Look, I'm trapped in all these skeins, these threads. I'm part of the embroidery. I'm part of this embroidery. How to come out? And who is the one who is the artist? Maya. Yeah, if you look under the tapestry, authoress Maya, it will be written. It is the goddess. So here I'm part of this tapestry. How to get out? The color of all the colors that comprise this stick figure and its activities are part of the skeins that are connected to the whole. How do I come out? What do you mean you can come out? And it is the art of a cognitive unraveling of this tapestry. It really doesn't have to be unraveled. Cognitive unraveling. When I was a child, somebody came to visit, and then they had just brought their knitting with them. They were knitting some kind of a rug or something like that, and then they left it, and then they went to see something else. And then I just thought, oh, this is very fascinating. This whole thing has come from these two needles. Let me find out how. And then before I knew it, the needles had slipped through the floor. And all I was left, as a 5-year old, all that was left was a little skein of thread. And of course, I just picked it up, and then the most delicious sensations. When it just unraveled, unraveled. Oh, fantastic! Oh, it's keeping on going and going. Oh, look, so long this thread is. Oh, look at this! Look at this! Look at this! And then, fortunately, they came back. Before the whole thing was gone, and and then I had a lesson in not touching other people's things, and not a moment too soon. But the point is, this it doesn't have to be really unwrapped. This Vedanta is the cognitive unraveling of the ingredients of the thread called samsara. That is what it is. So cognitive unraveling. And this is something which is exactly, it's called the thread of samsara. In the Mundakopanishad, as we will see, in the weekend classes, we are studying the Mundakopanishad, and there we will see that there is a prophecy. Bhidyate hridaya granthihi. So the knot of samsara unravels. And where is this knot? The knot is on the thread, and this thread is the tapestry. And the tapestry becomes a travesty if you take it to be real, and if you take it to be trapped, if you take yourself to be trapped in that. You're not. Because everybody has, so to speak, a kind of a split or a dual consciousness. And what is this dual consciousness? One is being poised to look at the relative, the empirical world. And what is that consciousness? I am a daughter, a son. I am a um, spouse. I am perhaps a mother or a father. I am perhaps an employee or an employer. I am a citizen of such and such a country. I have these many things in my life. This dismal figure here is my bank account. These are all the empirical reality. And this is my, these are my talents, these are my abilities, and these are my shortcomings. This is the empirical reality. I'm conscious of it. I am a participant. So the first awareness is that of a participant in samsara. And then the other awareness is that of, the first identification, I would say, not awareness. The first identification is that of being a participant in samsara. That is what I'm conscious of. As soon as I'm born, even before I'm born, somebody has claimed me as their child. Somebody has claimed me as their grandchild, as their niece, as their nephew. What choice do I have? I'm born related. And as soon as I'm born, I'm being told, this is your mummy, this is your daddy, this is your auntie, this is your grandma. This is your granny. This is your grandpa. All these things I'm told even before, as soon as I'm born, before I can even speak. I'm born I'm born in a web of relations. And then that is what I'm conscious of. I'm conscious of this body. I identify with these relatives. I identify with the body because I have to have a sense of belonging in order to grow up. Otherwise, if you imagine if a 1 year old is told you're not the body, you're Atman, what is it going to do with this knowledge? It cannot even assimilate it. It can only understand this much. This is your mother, this is your father, you belong here. Oh, good, I'm safe. As long as these two people are around, I'm safe. That's all it knows. And that's all it needs to know at this point. It doesn't need to know anything else. It just is happy to knowing that there is a certain safety there. And as it grows up, the identifications unfortunately do not drop. In fact, they just increase. Now I'm identified with this. Now I'm identified with that. Now I'm addicted. The identification comes with addiction. So now I'm identified with this and I'm addicted to this. And so it keeps on increasing. Even though we drop ignorance on the relative level, mother ignorance dropped, father ignorance dropped, school ignorance dropped, geography ignorance dropped. But then, everything is just, everything else is just, even though that is dropped, the desires grow and the wrong identifications grow. Why are they wrong identification? Because you're identifying with the finite while being infinite. So this is the first consciousness or the first kind of identification with the relative, and the other one is there. Even though one is a participant, there is an observer consciousness. There is participant consciousness and there is observer consciousness, and this is something which is very, very interesting. The observer consciousness, I mean, in Sanskrit is called Sakshi Bhava. The Sakshi means the one who is the witness. So if the observer consciousness is witness consciousness, what is the other one? Witless consciousness. That's all. If you are, if you're not a witness, you are witless. That's all it is. No wit at all. Taking everything seriously and being in the doldrums all the time. Why? Because you're chasing the finite endlessly. And the chasing of the finite, gives a headache to begin with. Gives a migraine. What's a migraine? That which you wish was somebody else's grain, but it happens to be your grain. That is what is a migraine. And so this is what it is. This headache is called samsara. And this samsara alone, so to transcend this involves repatriating the I from being a participant to firmly being an observer. That's how you get out of this travesty or this tapestry called of the three gunas, the three colors, so to speak, the colorations that are there called samsara. Oh, but then Maya will be sad. No, Maya will rejoice because now you're standing right next to the mother goddess and admiring her handiwork, and you are telling her, oh, you gave me this kind of a parentage. Good thing you did this because it helped me find this knowledge. And look, and then you can admire the whole tapestry along with her. Look, there's me as a young one. And here it is. Here is me with what I thought was a terrible childhood, but I can see now it's all set here. It's for this for a particular purpose. It has been like this. It is all leading me to this place. And then you see another stick figure right there. Who's that? Oh, that's the guru. Oh, okay. Here is where I found the teacher. Oh, and then there is another small little thing. What is that? Oh, that is the Gita book. Oh, here is when I discovered the Gita. Yay, yippee, fantastic. I'm having this knowledge. I'm having this. And then you can look, you can trace the history, the trajectory of this stick figure in and through all these things. And then you know what this cognitive unraveling does. Just like that auntie who had come to visit when I was a child. She didn't scold me at all. She said, "Oh, she's so small, and don't let's not worry about it." And she said, "Actually, now I'm having a new idea, and then I'm going to change the color here." And she inserted a new color and redid all this. Even when she was sitting and visiting, she just clack clack clack, the knitting needles went, and she inserted a new color, and then she made a different thing. So this unraveling, the cognitive unraveling, is basically, what is that? It is re rewriting your own autobiography to match what is there in the Upanishad. Just like a person who is knitting looks at the pattern, and what is here must match the pattern. And so you look at the pattern, oh, yes. And then knit and pearl and knit, and there's just three stitches, that's all. Various combinations. And so knit one, pearl one, knit two, pearl two, like this, you just have this pattern. And then you look at, oh, here is where the slippage has occurred. Okay, let me just go correct that. This is exactly what it is. So when you stand next to Mother Maya, so to speak, you are no longer a participant. That is the first stage. No longer a participant. You are looking at the tapestry with objectivity and with awe. Oh, interesting. Look at that. Oh, fantastic. How did you manage to get these two people married? They have nothing in common. And the goddess goes, yeah, that's the whole point. And so that they learn, how to understand and adjust to another ahankara, another ego. This is the whole point. And then, oh, how did this one meet that one? Well, that's a different story. You'll have to go to the tapestry before that, another chapter, and then you'll see how this is all going. And this is what it is. This is what the whole thing is. The first stage is to get out of that and reverentially and understand the workings of this world, and the workings of one's own parentage, one's own childhood, one's own everything. And that is the first stage. And then after that, you find that you were standing right next to Mother Goddess Maya, and then she has disappeared. She's disappeared. Where did she go? All that is there is left is you. She too was, she too had a limited role of bringing you to this knowledge, bringing you to this awareness of yourself as the absolute. She is just an extension of you now. She has become one with you, so to speak. And this is where Arjuna needs to go. This is where Lord Krishna is trying to lead him in this verse. They drop this identification with these colors, sattva, rajas, tamas. How do I do that? First, by becoming, and he gives some very practical advice, even though the first line seems a little esoteric, like how do I get out of this tapestry? He gives very practical advice. First, he says, be the one for whom there are no, there is no, what is that called? Who has won over the pair of opposites. Rise above the pair of opposites. Nirdvandvaha means sukha and dukkha. Jaya and apajaya. Sukha, dukkha, dukkha, sorrow, sukha, happiness, jaya, victory, apajaya, so-called defeat. Victory, defeat, success and failure, whatever one's concepts are. See them as concepts and get into the role of the observer. That is the role. That is your identity, in fact. In fact, all other things are roles that you play, but this is, in fact, your identity. And so, get into that identity. And he says that otherwise you will be caught. Sapratipakshau padarthau dvandva shabda vachyau tato nirgato nirdvandvo bhava. Otherwise, you'll be caught in the pairs of opposites. Good, bad. What else? Happy, sad, successful, and full of failure. And what else? I feel well, and then I feel sick. And man, woman. And then what else? So many things like this. The whole life is full of all kinds of opposites. And get out of this oppositional consciousness, because that is an entrapment. Because really, this is a spoof. Oh, but how can you say that there is no such thing called good and bad? There are good and yes, it's there. It's on the empirical level. It's on the empirical level. And but then when you talk about the absolute reality, it is just that which blesses the so-called good and blesses the so-called bad without really participating in either. Just like the sun shines evenly on somebody sitting and reading a book on the Bhagavad Gita. The sun is shining on that activity, on a few people discussing or reading the Bhagavad Gita. And then, just a few yards from there, underneath another tree, a few fellows are planning grand larceny, how to rob a bank and how to, do this. There are some movies also made on that. And then so like this, how to get away with this and where to drill and where are all these red laser beams and so how to avoid those laser beams without getting fried up in them and all this is what they are discussing. And then just a few yards away on underneath another tree, the sun is shining on that activity also indiscriminately. Why? Because the sun is just bringing things to light. And so too the sun, like Atma, the self-radiant one, because of which there is good notions of good and because of which there is notions of bad, also shines evenly upon everything. But then that does not absolve one because one occupies these dual layers of reality. That does not absolve one from following dharma. Because what follows dharma is the body mind sense complex, which is very much has to live in this reality of the empirical. But then, after a while, after understanding this, after becoming one with dharma, there is nothing to follow because you have embodied it. And then from that standpoint, you are much more forgiving. You're much more accommodative of the so-called bad. You don't freak out. Oh, this is terrible. How can they do this? You understand that there are human constraints, that this is why whatever some helplessness one has done it. You're willing to give the other person a chance, even if it is you that has been slighted. You have become much more accommodative because you understand that this is not you. You understand that even though the hurt is directed against you, it is more of a statement of their own helplessness than anything to do with you. Very, very beautiful. And so nirdvandvo bhava. And then how to become nirdvandva? Nitya sattvastho bhava. Nitya sattvastha means be firmly living in sattva. Be firmly living, embodying, inviting the qualities of of joy, of cleanliness within and without, of tidiness, of accommodation, of compassion, of mindfulness, the ability to just allow things to just be. Even those that are difficult for you to swallow, allow it to be. And when you get to that place, then it becomes easy to rise above these pairs of opposites, and which is a kind of an entrapment. And then nirdvandvo bhava, and then what else? Nitya sattvastho bhava, and then finally niryoga kshemo bhava. Niryoga kshema means yoga. He defines. We'll read the bhashya here. He defines very nicely yoga. Anupatasya upadanam yoga. Anupatasya. Upatasya means of that which is gained. Anupatasya, of that which is not gained. Upadanam, the gain. The gain of that which is not gained is called yoga. Oh, I thought yoga meant down dog and all these asanas. Yes, that is, that is a specific definition. Here is another specific definition. Here is a different definition. There, yoga means joining. That definition is also there. All of them are from the root verb yuj, which belong to various conjugations. And then, when you apply a abstract noun, when you apply apply a pratyaya, a kind of a what's that suffix to make an abstract noun, they all end up in yoga. Yoga. They all end up like this. In the Bhagavad Gita itself, there are three definitions of yoga. The first one, which we will come up to presently in verse 48, which we will arrive at, is called Samatvam. Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. Samatvam, equanimity. What this equanimity is, etc., we'll see in detail, not to worry right now. But equanimity is the first definition of yoga in verse 48 of the second chapter. Then just two verses down, in verse 50, we get the second definition of yoga in the Bhagavad Gita. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Discrimination in action is yoga. Second definition. The third definition comes a little while later, after one has gained a little more emotional maturity. It comes in the 23rd verse of the 6th chapter, and it says that dukkha samyoga viyoga yoga. So the yoga is dissociation from always associating with sorrow. That also we'll see in detail. So these are the three definitions of yoga that are there, and then of course so yoga, here these are specific definitions. But if you take grammatically, the word yoga here means it can mean what is that stopping, stop, nirodha, as it is defined in the second Yoga Sutra. Yogaschitta vritti nirodha, the cessation of the stream of thoughts is yoga, nirodha. And then the second definition is grammatically of the word yoga. The first is cessation, the second is a kind of a restraint. And that also we see in abundance in the Bhagavad Gita, restraint or discipline. Discipline means what? Like we see this in abundance in the 6th chapter. And yuktahara viharasya. So the one who is disciplined with regard to food, with regard to movement, all these things. So that is the discipline. And the word yoga grammatically also has another meaning, which means joining together. Yujir to yoge, to join. So that is the third definition. These are grammatical definitions. But then the Bhagavad Gita has taken it to another level and given its own definitions of yoga specific to this teaching. Okay, and all these three definitions are not cancelled. They are, they are enveloped. They are folded into these specific three definitions that we talked about. And then so here yoga, is technical definition here in the Bhagavad Gita means when it is used with the word kshema. When yoga and kshema are used together, then yoga has yet one more definition, and that definition means, what does it mean? It means Anupattasya upadanam yogaha. The gain of that which is not gained, yet to be gained. This is called yoga. And then what else, Uh, uh, Upattasya rakshanam kshemaha. What is kshema? If yoga is the gain of that which is not gained, what is kshema? Kshema is the protection of that which is gained. It's already gained, and so it is a protection of that which you have gained. You protect, because as I said, whether it's you talk of a relationship with a person or a relationship with a thing, both need to be protected. Starting from clutching your handbag a little tighter as you're walking through a crowded metro station, in a big city. You have to go into this station where with public transport or a bus stand, and so the handbag, which is the handbag means what? It's got your whole life in it. It's got your phone in it. It's got your credit card in it. Everything, and then or your wallet. So you pat your pocket to make sure it's there many times. In fact, inviting all the thieves to tell them where you are keeping it. And same thing, you clutch the handbag a little tighter. This is kshema, praptasya rakshanam. Whatever you have gained, you have to hold on to it tightly, because if it goes, OMG, oh my God, this is a big loss, and it's a big headache. You have to call all the credit card companies, provided you know how many you have in there, okay? And then you have to cancel and you have to change you have to call the bank account, the debit card, all these things. And then you have to replace everything, and then the phone and the contacts, and then of course it could be hacked, and then of all these things. So, and then you find that just when you need it, the Find My Phone feature is not operational. It's not working at all. Prarabdha, karma. Okay. So, this is kshema. Yoga means making a mental list every day upon waking up, and of all the things yet to be fulfilled. This is not fulfilled. I am still miserable because I don't have this. I'm still angry because I don't have that. And I want this and I want that. And okay, all this may be, a 5-year plan, and then maybe a 10-year plan. But right now, what is that? Right now, today's plan is to tell off a few people who are coming in the way of my desires, is to show them that I am the boss, is to show them that they cannot string me along. And so that is the plan. It seems doable, it seems reasonable. I think I'm on it. And so this is all examples of yoga. Yoga, and then what else? Kshema. This is life. And in fact, if you examine life as usual, the, the whole life is yoga, kshema, kshema, yoga, yoga, kshema, kshema, yoga, 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 kshema, kshema, kshema. That's all it is. The whole life is geared towards wanting something which one doesn't have, then protecting something that one has, some things that one has, and then to this we have to add getting rid of all the things that one has acquired that one no longer wants. That also has to be added. Otherwise, where will all our garage sales go? This garage sale is important because everything that's part of the garage sale was a prized possession. Prized possession. It was in the living room, and then nobody appreciated it. So then from there it went into the dining room. It was just in the way all the time, and then it went into the and it went into the laundry room, which is of course right next to the garage. And then another time when the house was clean, it went into the garage and stayed there and stayed there. You got sick of seeing it, and then you said, "Oh, let's have a garage sale." This is what it is. So, getting rid of what you have inadvertently or consciously acquired, but you don't want to have it any longer. That's also part of this yoga kshema equation. All that you have to this, and then getting rid of something that you have acquired without even your knowledge, like a sickness, like a virus. You want to get rid of it. Antivirals, everything one takes, one wants to get rid of it. And so everything, starting with gray hair that one doesn't want, is all included in this yoga kshema. Getting rid of what doesn't want, what one doesn't want, acquiring what one wants, protecting what one wants. This is what life is. Protecting what one has, keeping at bay all the time that which one never wants, all that is included as well. I don't want to be sick. I don't want to get old. I don't want to be impoverished. All these things I have to keep at bay. So then this yoga kshema becomes very, very interesting. And then, so this yoga kshema is the power that fuels. This is the reason why I get up every day. Because otherwise, why should I get up? Because there is some yoga kshemas waiting to be fulfilled. And that's the only reason to get up. Otherwise, one will just lie in bed all the time. But here it becomes a great motivator to go on living as usual. And so therefore Bhagavan, says to Arjuna, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, Niryoga Kshemo Bhava. Just let drop this yoga kshema. What do you mean? Drop this yoga kshema. This is all I know. Yeah, but now you're being introduced to the latter portion of the Veda, which talks about your autobiography as a non-wanting, totally fulfilled person, as as one with Ishvara, as that which is infinite. This is where you need to go. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to internalize. And so you can drop this. You don't have to get stuck on this yoga kshema. And the yoga kshema keeps you from from entering this consciousness of yourself as a witness. Otherwise, it keeps you in the realm of the relative, just keeping on treading water there because it's not going anywhere. This is what it is. It's not going anywhere at all. So, niryoga kshemo bhava. And why? Because you are Nitya Sattvastha, because you have Sattva as the motivating force. Then you can easily let go of this and then become, free of all this yoga, kshema, everything, etc. And then, Bhashyakara adds Atmavan. There is Atmavan Bhava. Atmavan here means Apramattaha. Apramattaha means be faultless in your mm, in your in your devotion to your duty. That is how to get rid of this yoga kshema pursuits, because when you make it duty based, it is not what I want to do, it is what I have to do. And then I fall into a place of liking everything that I have to do. This was Pujya Swamiji's answer to a young child that went up to him and said, "What is your favorite activity, Swamiji?" And Swamiji said, "I have learned to like everything that I have to do." And that is the growth, and that is the portion which we are going to enter here, called Karma Yoga. This is what it is. And learning, growing from a place of being a person for whom likes and dislikes are everything, and where one's life is propelled by likes and dislikes. From that person, growing to a person who loves everything that needs to be done, just because it needs to be done. It's just so amazing. Really, really amazing. I was very moving. I was in an ashram in Taiwan, and there is a Zen ashram. It's just amazing. They had, morning meditation, and then afternoon some kind of a talk. Again, evening meditation, and then 400, 500 people. And then there were these people whose seva it was to take the cushions and put it in the hall. In India, what would have we would have just thrown the cushion on one pile and told the people, just take one cushion and sit wherever. No, no. Here it was just so there were three people for this task. And I was just watching what are they doing? Why do they need three people for the cushions? And one was carrying these, 4 or 5 cushions. The other one was placing it, and the third one was measuring the place between the two cushions, a comfortable distance. And of course, this was pre-pandemic, so it was not 6 feet apart, but still, it was just, very nice, So one would measure and put a little dot, a small little invisible kind of a easily, easily erased mark with a little piece of chalk, and the third one would put the cushion on that. And so it continued. It took half an hour to set up the hall, and for a meditation that was about 45 minutes. The meditation was as long as it took to set up the hall, and the setting up the hall itself was the meditation. Really, that was like an open eye meditation. And then, of course, when people sit, you can't just sit exactly how it is put. So you adjust and everything. And so when people get up and go, it's all again in a mess. And nobody was angry. And because the duty was to then put it all away and then sweep and mop the hall twice a day, it was done. Then again, before the noontime meditation, again measure, collect, measure, keep, collect, measure, keep. And it was just, and then after that, it looked so beautiful. It was inviting. It was just so inviting to go sit there. And it was just amazing. It was so moving to see that seva, it was being done. And this is how, and if the people were just angry all the time and saying, oh, this is not nice, and why do I have to do this, and why we have to go do this all the time? There is something there. That itself is purifying. That itself is like a meditation. It has done its job because you are no longer the same person as you were before you set the cushions together. You're no longer the same person. You have undergone a transformation. In fact, you like doing it now. After a few rounds of this seva, one is in a very different place. And so, like this, learn to love whatever that is you have to do. This is what it is. You have to discharge, whatever duty you have to discharge, do it with a sense of participation, with a sense of embodying it, and with a sense of love. And then what happens is that that dharma, swadharma, becomes yours. You have aced swadharma. Swadharma means your own duties, whatever you need to do. And then so then the question comes, if I'm not supposed to enjoy the fruits of action, if I'm not supposed to if I'm not at all supposed to enjoy what I'm to do, then what for is this? Why should I do anything at all? And why should I bother? And the answer for that comes in the next verse. We'll see in the next session. यावानर्थ उदपाने सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः. So the first portion of the Veda becomes kind of invalid. Invalid means it's not that you have to run away from it. It's there, but it doesn't attract you anymore. It's no longer useful. It is as useless as a well which is underwater. So when there is water everywhere, who will go in search of the well to gain the water? Very interesting analogy. We'll see that next time. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you.